Top 5 Historical Mysteries Solved in Recent Years. 5. Why the largest primate went extinct. While it is generally agreed that Gigantopithecus was the largest primate to ever roam the Earth, the few fossils we have provide us an unclear picture of its true size. Experts say it was anywhere between 1.8 to 3 meters, 6 to 10 feet, tall and between 200 and 500 kilograms, 440 to 1,100 pounds. They also can't say for certain how long Gigantopithecus was around for, although they opined that the giant ape existed between 9 million and 100,000 years ago. Despite all the uncertainty, researchers at the Senckenberg Center for Human Evolution and Paleoenvironment, HEP, in Germany believe they have elucidated at least one mystery surrounding the primate, why Gigantopithecus went extinct. According to them, the ape died out due to its inability to adapt. 6. By studying the tooth enamel of fossils, they ascertained that Gigantopithecus was exclusively a vegetarian, but it didn't eat only bamboo as others had suggested. This diet restricted the primate's habitat to forests. However, during the Pleistocene, large areas of wooded landscapes in China and Thailand where Gigantopithecus lived turned to savannas. This had a major impact on the ape's food sources, which led to its extinction before it could adapt to a new diet. 4. The flight of Barry Troy. On February 25, 1958, Lieutenant William Thomas Barry Troy of the Royal Canadian Navy was flying a F-2H-3 Banshee jet to the Naval Air Station in Mayport, Florida. However, the 29-year-old pilot fell out of his four-plane formation and was never heard from again. Although he was presumed dead, all we ever recovered was his helmet and a wheel from the aircraft. In 2017, Hurricane Irma became one of the most destructive storms on record, causing over 100 fatalities and tens of billions of dollars in damage. Another thing it did was help to elucidate the 59-year-old mystery of Lieutenant Troy's disappearance. A park ranger from Florida's Hanna Park saw a pile of debris wash ashore. Upon closer inspection, he noticed it contained parachute rigging with the words Lieutenant P. Troy inscribed on the harness. Most likely, the chutes had been buried under sand dunes for decades before being brought to the surface by the hurricane. It appeared that the parachute was never deployed. No human remains or substantial pieces of plane wreckage were found, so it's still unclear if Lieutenant Troy's plane crashed in the same area. 3. The Tibetan Millet Mystery. A new agricultural study from Washington State University seeks to provide an answer for the apparent mass exodus seen on the fringes of the Tibetan Plateau roughly 4,000 years ago. According to a team led by archaeologist Jade Dalpoim Geddes, climate change could have driven away the ancient people of the eastern Tibetan highlands by making it impossible for them to grow millet, their primary food source. Archaeological evidence shows us that millet was the main crop cultivated in the area toward the end of the warm period known as the Holocene climatic optimum. Afterward, global temperatures cooled down, which had an adverse impact on Tibetan agriculture. Millet became very difficult to cultivate due to its high heat demands. The food shortage caused more and more people to leave seeking greener pastures. It wasn't until 300 years later that the region began to bounce back due to the introduction of wheat and barley, which fared much better in cold weather and almost immediately became the new preferred crops. Curiously enough, the ancient millet seeds could make a comeback in the near future as the Tibetan Plateau is now one of the areas with the fastest rising temperatures on the planet. 2. The curious extinction of the Tasmanian tiger. The last known thylacine, also known as the Tasmanian tiger, died in captivity in 1936. Since then, thousands of people reported unverified sightings, but with no confirmed records. The animal was declared officially extinct 50 years later. While the continued existence of the thylacine is still up in the air, researchers believe they have solved another mystery surrounding the animal: why it survived on the island of Tasmania when it died out in mainland Australia thousands of years ago. One hypothesis claimed a disease wreaked havoc on the mainland population. Another said the thylacine went extinct due to its competition with the dingo, an animal not found on Tasmania. However, researchers at the University of Adelaide argue that it was climate change, specifically drought caused by the El Niño weather pattern, which resulted in the mainland extinction. Scientists at the Australian Centre for Ancient DNA sequenced 51 new DNA genomes from thylacine fossils. Their findings showed that Tasmanian tiger populations in southern Australia split into western and eastern divisions approximately 25,000 years ago. They also showed that the drought had an adverse effect on thylacine numbers in Tasmania, but the higher rainfall offered the island a degree of protection from the warm weather. Therefore, the animal population was able to bounce back before Europeans arrived in the 18th century. 1. Solving America's oldest unsolved murder. In 1607, Jamestown, Virginia, became the first permanent English settlement in the Americas. For the last 2 decades, it has also been at the forefront of colonial America archaeology since the Jamestown Rediscovery Project led to the reveal of the ruins of the original James Fort. Originally slated to last only 10 years, the venture has been prolonged indefinitely due to the continued discovery of new artifacts and knowledge. Part of the findings in 1996 included the skeleton of a young man given the designation JR-102C. He had been shot in the right leg, and a lead bullet was found alongside the remains. His 400-year-old death became an unsolved murder. It took over 17 years since his rediscovery, but in 2013, forensic archaeologists announced that they had identified not only the victim but also his killer. They believe JR-102C was shot in a duel, as he was hit in the side of the knee, suggesting he was positioned sideways. Based on records and other evidence, researchers named George Harrison as JR-102C and a merchant named Richard Stevens as his killer. The two took part in a duel in 1624, in which the latter shot the former in the leg, with Harrison subsequently dying of blood loss.